recorded. Hello, my name is Brian Kilcourse, and I'm a managing partner at RSR Research. And my partner, Paula Rosenblum, and I recently completed a study on the state of innovation in retail. It published in October 2018, and it's available on our website, www.rsrresearch.com, and it's available to you for free. So download it and take a look at it, and be sure to tell us what you think. We'll tell you how to reach us at the end of this little conversation. Now, when we do a study, we follow something called the BOOT methodology, B-O-O-T. B stands for business challenge, and business challenge is that those are the things environmentally that are causing retailers to look at their business in an interesting way. So, for example, it might be omni-channel order fulfillment is causing retailers to look at their supply chain, or the way that consumers are using voice-activated devices in their home are causing retailers to look at their e-commerce capabilities, those kinds of things. Those are business challenges around retailers' environments that are causing them to look at their business. Overperformers, those retailers that we call retail winners, are very good at taking a challenge and turning it into an opportunity. The way they do that is they address the challenge in some interesting and meaningful way that causes market differentiation, causes them to have some new advantage over the competition. That's the opportunity. Now, even when the challenge is well known and the opportunity is pretty clear, some retailers still don't act very quickly, and that's because of organizational inhibitors, things that stand in their way from moving forward. It might be the availability of funds, it might be executive focus, it might be legacy technology, some combination of those things and many other things might stand in the way of retailers moving forward, and those are called the organizational inhibitors. And finally, the T, that's technology enablers. Those are the technologies and information sources that cause retailers to be able to address the business challenge or seize the opportunity. Now, today we're going to talk about organizational inhibitors to innovation. If innovation is such an agenda throughout the world today, what is it about the agenda that is causing retailers to go slow? We'll take a look at that. If I were to summarize that organizational inhibitor in just one word, I would say money. Money is the problem. When it comes to innovation, the fundamental challenge that retailers are grappling with is the cost of doing something, the cost of experimenting. Experimentation by its very nature is going to include some failures. Things are just not going to pan out. And of course, retailers would view that as money down the drain, of course. So retailers really hate to fail. They don't like to waste money, and that drives them towards safer bets. Now, you might ask yourself, why do they hate to fail so much? Why do they hate to even try? And to understand that, you need to understand the retailer's profit and loss statements. After paying for cost of goods, most retailers have somewhere between 17 and 25 cents on every revenue dollar in order to pay for their entire operation. The store rents, the lights, the labor, amortization and depreciation on technology, all those kinds of things. And then they have to, of course, they have to pay interest on their loans, and they have to pay taxes. And a few of those cents, just a few, flow all the way down to give back to the investors. So it's a really, really tight business model, and there's not much room for pennies getting lost. Retailers pay very close attention to those pennies. That's why they move toward safe bets, because they hate to lose pennies. But that means that they're going to only go towards the known solutions. They're not going to go towards something that's new and innovative. Now, having said that, consumers and competitors are pushing retailers to learn new experimentation skills and to develop at least some tolerance for failure. Overperformers, those that we call retail winners, have at least accepted that. And they're actually trying to adopt something that is familiar to everyone in the tech world. It's fail-fast experimentation. You all know what that means if you're from that side, from the technology side of the world. It means trying out new ideas with rapid prototyping technologies, seeing if they work. If they work and show some promise, you put them in the queue for further development. And if they don't, you drop them and you move on. Retailers are just learning how to do that. And already, retail winners are moving far ahead of their average and underperforming competition. But whether you're a winner, an average performer, or a laggard, whether you're a big retailer or a small retailer, or whether you're from fast-moving consumer goods or fashion or anything in between, retailers of all stripes indicate that the top inhibitor is that discretionary money has been drained by the continuous promotional activity that has dominated the environment for a number of years now, since the Great Recession. And we all know why that promotional activity is happening. It's because consumers have gotten very, very smart about price and availability. They use their smart mobile devices all the time to find the best deal at the best place. And of course, the largest retailers are the ones that are most impacted by that. But we found something else out that was kind of interesting, and we didn't expect it. And that's that small and medium business retailers cite cultural resistance far more than any other group of retailers. We were surprised by this because we thought that the smaller retailers, those who have to do something differentiating in the first place to distinguish their brand from the big players, would be far more open to new ideas and trying out new concepts. But in fact, they're the ones that are the most resistant. And that really caught us by surprise. It's an interesting finding, and we'll pay attention to it in future studies for sure. Now, how did we get to these conclusions? Well, we asked retailers about their tolerance for failure. And one of the things we found out very quickly, and you can see this in the numbers, is that overperforming retail winners are trying to adopt a fail fast philosophy. Fully half of them are trying to do that, where far fewer average and underperformers are trying to do that. So they're trying to not be afraid to experiment, not to be afraid to declare perfect failures early, in essence, to adopt a fail fast philosophy. And they also believe that they need to be more aggressive in pursuing new ideas and accepting that they won't always work. That means they're getting away from trying to identify an ROI before they get started. You can see that average and underperformers have no appetite for that at all. About 40% of winners do feel that that's the right way to pursue new ideas. Now, average and underperformers, on the other hand, half of them, or about 45% anyway, are saying that they're cautious and that without a reasonable probability of success, they're not even going to try. This is where ROI, unfortunately, comes in. These are the retailers that are looking for the known attributes of value before they even approve an expenditure on any new idea. The problem with this is that if you know the attributes of value, it's not very innovative. It's something that's well known to the industry. Otherwise, it wouldn't have a clear ROI. We decided to dive deeper into that, take a look and see where it's really coming from. And if you're in the industry, you probably aren't surprised by this, but if you're outside of the industry, it's instructive. Fast-moving consumer goods retailers, you would think of these as drugstores and supermarkets and convenience stores, are the ones that are the most cautious. General merchants, and hard goods merchants, and fashion and boutique merchants are much less concerned about that. And the reason for that may be that GM and hard goods and fashion merchants have been fighting with Amazon for some years. They've been in that very, very fierce competitive fight with a company that spends more on innovation than most retailers make in top line. Fast-moving consumer goods have been largely immune from that for a long time, but of course that is changing rapidly, especially with Amazon's acquisition of Whole Foods. But they're the ones that are most reticent about wasting money on failed experimentation. And it's instructive because as you look at that industry's P&Ls, you'll notice that they're the tightest ones of all. Fast-moving consumer goods retailers are the ones that have the least a bit of margin to spare on experiments and still flow something down to the bottom line. So it's probably no surprise. But it's a big barrier for those retailers, and they have to learn how to compete with innovation as well as with product and price. Now, when we looked at this issue of why there isn't enough money, and why promotional activity has been cutting into what might otherwise be discretionary budgets, we found that the largest retailers are the ones that are most effective. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Those are the ones that have been competing the most with the big giants like Amazon and Walmart, and they're fighting on price, and you can see it in the number. The smaller the retailer, generally speaking, the less the concern, to the point where the smaller than $500 million retailers are not concerned about it too much at all. But on the other hand, those retailers cited cultural resistance as a big barrier to moving forward. And we were very surprised at this, as I told you earlier. Those are the ones that have to have some distinguishing factors to make their brand first and foremost in the eyes of consumers in the first place. So those tend to be the brand retailers and those types. Very exciting in their own right. And we thought that they'd be interested in trying new ideas out and seeing if they work and trying to find interesting ways to distinguish themselves from the big players. But in fact, they're not. They're very cautious when it comes to these new ideas, and it's all because of cultural innovation or cultural barriers to innovation. Now, the one thing that Winners and everybody else has in common is that when they say innovation, they're primarily thinking about ways to lower costs. And that makes sense too, because when you think about the customer facing side of the business, there's been a lot of innovation happening for the last 10 years. Since the advent of the iPhone and its Android counterparts, consumers have been using smart mobile technologies to make purchase decisions outside of the store for some years. And so there's been a tremendous amount of innovation on that side of the world. To pay for these new ways of touching consumers and new ways of offering service, retailers have to find the money someplace else. And that's where operational excellence comes into play. So retailers are really looking for new innovative ideas in the non-customer facing side of the business in order to pay for those things that they have to do on the customer facing side of the business. That's really interesting. Now, there's a lot more in this report that we'd love to share with you. We don't have time today, so we encourage you to get down and take a look at the report. Bring it down from on our website, www.rsrresearch.com. And feedback is always very important to us. So if you email us your ideas and your comments, you can get to us on Twitter or on Facebook, and you can also get to us on LinkedIn, although that's not listed here. But again, our research is free to everyone. All you have to do is sign on to our website, and we will be respectful of your privacy. So that's it for me. This is Brian Kilcourse from RSR Research, and thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you real soon.